Hello and welcome to Reddit Tell All. Today we have 3 different stories, all asking for relationship advice. I hope you enjoy each one of these posts. Let me know in the comments below what you think on each one of the stories and what advice you would give them. I, male 38, am dealing with awkward mutual attraction / compatibility with wife's sister, female 37. I have been dating / married to my wife, 33, for 14 years now, with young children. We have a loving and healthy marriage despite having honestly navigated some very challenging experiences, health and loss related. My wife is extremely close to her sister, 37, who is also married with kids. The problem is that it's very obvious to everyone involved that my sister-in-law and I are not only physically attracted to each other, but also extremely compatible. It's always been awkwardly evident and jokingly acknowledged that had circumstances been different and we'd actually met each other before our respective significant others, we'd be an absolutely inevitable couple. My wife and sister-in-law look alike to the point of casually swapping ID cards. So it's always been literally impossible for me to deny / hide finding my sister-in-law very attractive. Likewise, my sister-in-law has 2 distinctive types of men she openly finds most attractive, and while her husband is one of these types, I'm literally the other type, and apparently slightly preferred of the 2. This open secret attraction would be fairly irrelevant or harmless, except it's also accompanied by us being extremely compatible in many other respects. We ironically have a lot more shared interests than with our respective significant others, and are probably an even more natural personality match with each other than with them. While we've never even come remotely close to doing anything inappropriate, I can't deny it sometimes does create odd dynamics. In family or group situations, we constantly pair off conversationally and in subtle, practical ways. Without fail, we always sit together and partner up or split off for activities. To the point, there's almost an unspoken understanding between us that we basically maximize our time together at every opportunity. Everyone is aware of this, but nobody is actually upset by it at all, as it just seems somehow natural and best friendish. The most significant example of this being when we have days out with our kids but without our respective significant others. While our significant others and family appreciate us giving them a break from the kids, in reality, my sister-in-law and I also undeniably somewhat enjoy playing family. While we're out with our kids like this, people constantly assume we're a couple and treat us as such. Inevitably, people refer to us as husband and wife, and we even often have strangers compliment us for being such a lovely family or couple. We joke about it a lot and especially have fun with people's shocked or confused reactions when we get truly forced to explain that we're not actually a couple. To be clear, we've never done anything inappropriate or actively misleading in these situations, holding hands, etc. That said, in reality, we both quite clearly do find it awkwardly exciting, vicariously experiencing this tiny taste of an alternative life together. While I love my wife and truly have no intention to ever act inappropriate with my sister-in-law, I'm writing here now for 2 specific reasons. Firstly, It seems that my sister-in-law and her husband might actually be having some issues. My wife and her family have gone as far as speculating that they might already be leading separate lives. While my wife is entirely aware and comfortably jokes about how close her sister and I clearly are, I can't help but wonder how the dynamics of the situation might completely change if my sister-in-law did actually end up divorced or separated. I really don't know how my wife or sister-in-law would react if the concept of us potentially being a couple became suddenly a lot less safely hypothetical. Secondly, and most pressingly, my sister-in-law and her family have always lived a relatively substantial distance from us, mostly limiting our in-real-life interactions to sporadic longer visits and shared holidays, with our daily interactions left to WhatsApp group chats. However, my sister-in-law and her family are now in the final stages of moving virtually next to us, meaning that in a month's time, we'll be seeing each other on an almost daily basis. Honestly, I'm really not sure how to navigate things, as I'm very aware that the dynamics of my interactions with my sister-in-law are potentially far more problematic and confusing for everyone as a daily occurrence. I'm genuinely worried that our unspoken patterns of behaviour and obvious chemistry might quickly become a very awkward elephant in the room for our significant others and other people. At the same time though, I feel like any attempt to reset the tone with my sister-in-law and somehow pull away from her in any noticeable way would almost be equally confusing and awkward for everyone. Ironically, it may even be worse due to the Streisand effect, as it would awkwardly focus attention even more on how close we have been or are and what it really means. Appreciate advice from anyone else who has been in a similar situation. I would be surprised if a lot of this attraction isn't in your own head. She might very well like you platonically, like a brother. But regardless, stop fantasizing about it, gross, and maybe just distance yourself politely until you regain your senses. You clearly like the idea of having your wife for your sister-in-law, but really think what that would mean for your wife, your in-laws, and your kids. You think that would go well? I thought not. Stop fixating and work on yourself. You sound in love with her, and just because you aren't physically cheating on her doesn't mean you aren't emotionally cheating. You need to pull away from that relationship completely and come clean to your wife and apologize for fantasizing about having a relationship with her sister. My wife's friend, 25 female, lied about my wife cheating on me, 27 male, and I cheated on my wife, 25 female, with her. I realised my huge mistake after her and I slept together. Her friend was always a otherwise truthful person and I didn't expect her to lie, but she did. She fooled me into sleeping with her. My wife went to a friend's wedding that I couldn't attend. Her friend told me that she met a guy there and she went with him to a hotel to hook up. The story was completely fabricated. I asked my wife how the wedding went and everything seemed fine. Despite that, I've been gaslighted by an ex before, and I've been around that despite them acting totally normal around me. I was fuming inside and kept my composure. I assumed my wife had cheated and wasn't telling me. The truth came out after her friend and I slept together. I regret it deeply. She said she just always had a crush on me. but didn't know how to tell me. I suppose she just cracked my insecurity code. She said sorry, but doesn't regret finally being with me, but won't tell my wife. I'm in a very difficult situation. I don't want to lose my wife, and I'm afraid of telling her as a result. Besides telling her, what can I do? Please help. You're an easy man. Tell your wife the truth and let the chips fall where they may. You trusted this friend over your wife. That is pretty pathetic. Be prepared for your wife to feel the same and send you packing. I, 29 male, and ex-girlfriend, 27 female, have been rocky for the past 6 years because of my Tinder issue. I have been with my current girlfriend for 6 years and our relationship is not the best of terms, but we still hang on to each other. I had Tinder before I met my girlfriend. Then I obviously stopped because I was with her. Right before COVID, I started playing Tinder again out of curiosity for about 1 year. Then she found out during COVID, which she came to my house crying and knocking on my door. That was 3 years ago and our relationship had not been the same since. She would bring up my infidelity most of the times. I would then tell her to move on because I have apologized for it and I am really trying to change. I have not touched the app ever since, but things have never been the same. She would never hold my hand whenever we went out. I could understand this from her point of view, but whatever I tried to do to fix this seemed futile. Then another thing is she also caught me watching an adult-only film on my phone, which obviously she got very upset about. Thereon, her trust was basically non-existent. She was asking for my social passwords, which I refused to give because breach of privacy, and I do not want our relationship to be that way. However, she was very adamant about this. I still did not give in to her. I could understand where she was coming from. Then, last night was the downfall of everything. After a shower, she left her phone in the shower. I took a peek at her screen. Then there it was. Another guy had texted her affectionately, and she also had changed his name into Baby. According to her, she wanted me to see it to make me understand how it feels. I was obviously devastated. Then I left her house. She kept calling me to ask for closure, which I don't have any to give her. Seeking for kind advice here. Is this relationship still salvageable? That's not a healthy situation. Move on, and for the love of God, next time, stay off Tinder. You weren't there for curiosity. You were there for validation and because you were horny. Do better, for God's sake. You cheated, refused to take any responsibility for it, didn't address the trust issues you caused, and told her to get over being cheated on for a year. No, it's not salvageable, and you obviously don't want it to be, because if you did, you would have done everything you could to show her you're sorry and that it wouldn't happen again. Open phone policy and access to all social media is a very common and accepted rule when your partner cheats on you. You didn't want your relationship to be about her checking up on you. Well, maybe you should have thought about that before you cheated for a year and told her to get over it. So that's today's stories. What do you think about each one of the stories today? What advice would you give each of the OPs? And do you agree with the top comments on each of the posts? I would have to say, yes, I agree with each of them. I think that especially the Tinder guy, you don't just go on Tinder to play a game. You go on there because you're intrigued or you want to have a bit of fun. And yes, they should definitely split up. That sounds like a toxic relationship. Once trust is gone, it's really hard to get it back, and it seems like he wasn't really trying to help her get the trust back. He just wanted her to get over it. But let me know in the comments below your thoughts on each one of these stories, and if you did like the video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I will see you all very soon.